Hey, Foot Clan, before we start today's show, I got to tell you about the Draft app. Look, we love it. We're playing it every week because it is a weekly snake draft. It's DFS in the type of format that you already know, and you know that you love it. Right now, I need you to go download the Draft app, get your deposits in because they're going to match you 100% up to $600 to get you ready for this weekend action. iOS, Android, they got you covered. And when you grab the app, like I know you're going to do, use the promo code BALLERS, and you're going to get in a league with us and other Foot Clan members, or you can just challenge your friends head-to-head. So grab the Draft app right now.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
It's football time. Almost.
Almost.
Football time from now until
We're in the middle of football
February. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, Mike the Fantasy Hitman Wright, back again delivering fantasy football goodness.
It's
Got
delicious.
a great jam-packed show today. We're playing Keep, Trade, Cut on the show today. We're jumping into the Foot Clan mailbag. We got a Review-a-saurus. We're getting into the news. We're going to deliver the goods.
You know, if I may.
Yes,
If I may for a minute.
You may.
So keep, trade, cut. We started that this offseason. It was a fun little game. But now we realize, like, we were toiling this week with how to really help people, and we realized we already had the golden nugget to help in it's a different format, but you're going to want to stick around for that keep, trade, cut, because these are guys where it's like, what do I do? Whether they blew up or whether they stunk or whether
Gary
they were
Barnidge,
like
Melvin Gordon.
What do I do with these guys? And we're going to tell you in a very fun segment.
Yes. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to get started here very soon. We have a quick question right off the top like we like to do. This one comes in off of Twitter at Thegeby. Okay. Thegeby. At Thegeby. Yeah, I didn't hit that very good. Here's the question.
Andrew.
Is there a week one stud that we should be cautious of? And is there a flop that is going to turn it around?
Well, absolutely. I think the question is who? The week one stud that I don't buy into at all, it might be too easy, but it's Carlos Hyde. I know, Mike, you got to tweet out, how does my hide taste, which was well
How
done.
does my hide taste?
Well
I did
done,
not
Mike.
see that.
Well, I mocked him for Torrey Smith, and he responds and says, I was off him weeks ago. How does my hide taste? And
my God.
I will grant
Carlos.
you saw that week one coming, so congratulations. But I'm not buying in. I don't think
not like that.
No, I know, but I don't think the offense is going to go well in the future. And, of course, this week, just terrible matchup.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that one. I'll go with Adrian Peterson as the flop to turn it around. Had a terrible week one. People are freaking out a little bit. People are freaking out about everybody who did not perform to chalk, who did not perform exactly as anticipated. And I understand it. And you know what?
Oh.
Jason,
No.
Oh, what's happening?
I want to apologize to you
Oh, I love it.
because I made a mistake on this show. And I
Yes.
thought that you were an insane person for bringing up the fact that Coby Fleener would be dropped in leagues. But you weren't, because I have repeatedly seen people dropping Coby Fleener.
Hold on. I'm checking his percentage.
People
The
talking.
percentage isn't updated yet.
The percentage is somewhat irrelevant because it is impacting our listeners, and that's what matters.
Well, thanks.
And so I want to apologize to you formally and for the last time in my entire life.
You want to know what I thought the apology was going to be?
Oh, great.
The bread basket.
Oh, no.
Which
That-
after the show, you said, you see what I was talking about, and
I
it wasn't
kind of
insane.
somewhat understand.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's it. That's
Okay.
all I'll say.
So which apology would you have been more happy about?
The bread basket.
Really?
No.
I thought the Coby Fleener. I ripped you a lot more for Coby Fleener.
That's all right.
But you're right. And so he was one of those guys that everyone's asking about. Gary Barnidge. Do I drop him and grab Eric Ebron? These are the type of questions that come up. Mike, do you have give me one or the other, a stud that you should be cautious of or a flop that you expect to turn it around?
Well, I was going to go with a hybrid of a week one stud. We didn't expect him to be a stud, but I think it's going to continue, and not so much as the top tier echelon stud, but Willie Snead. I fully believe that he will continue to be a very integral part of the Saints offense, and I think that he is going to be a solid wide receiver too for people.
You want to know what's incredible about Snead and Cooks and their explosion? You know what it veiled? another receiver on that team that caught 6 passes this week.
Oh,
Yeah,
Thomas?
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas got 6 passes. Now, he is going to be the 3, so he's capped to me. But he's going to have games.
But what it showed us most importantly was that the Michael Thomas, Brandon Coleman question was answered, that it's Michael Thomas, and that's the guy. So, on waivers, he's a guy that should also be looked to get picked up.
All right. Shout out to everybody who has supported this show. This is a listener-run show. You guys are the backbone of everything we do here. And so from time to time, we love to dive into the iTunes reviews, read a review from a listener in only the way that Jason can read them. And so we're going to do that right now.
Stumbling through.
Review-a-saurus Rex.
This one comes in from Jay Palma. He says, perfect blend of fantasy and comedy. 5-star review. These guys are the perfect representation of what fantasy football is about. Fantasy isn't just about winning and gaining bragging rights. One of the best parts of fantasy football is the ability to bust chops all season long, Kia, and humiliate your buddies whenever possible. The FF Ballers crew provide that perfect mix of information. There you go. I can't read. Reading is so hard. The perfect mix of information and advice with the added-on comedy that one really enjoys from fantasy football. Thanks for your hard work, guys. Well, thank you, Jay Palma.
Thank you for the review. They really do help us out. So if you have not subscribed and reviewed, please do.
If you want to get a hold of us on Twitter, if you want to get a hold of Jason, you can do so at JasonFFL. Mike is at FF Hitman. I'm at Andy Holloway, and the show is at the FF Ballers on Twitter. Always a good time on Twitter, especially when
During the games is great.
Yeah, during the games, it's just a lot of fun. There are memes flying around. It's
especially the evening games. I'm just throwing that out there. But if you're in the Sunday night, the
when
Monday
you have
night,
one
Thursday,
to focus on.
there's one and everybody's watching it. Get your Twitter out.
Even better if Jeff Fisher's involved.
Oh, yes.
So definitely check us out on YouTube as well. You can watch the show on there, subscribe on YouTube, see the show after the show. And, of course, a shout-out to all of our supporters. Thank you so much for lifting this show up on Patreon. JoinTheFoot.com.
Put the team on your back.
Yeah, we just announced yesterday we're delivering premium projections to our JoinTheFoot.com members. So we're really excited about delivering some extra value over there. Let's dive into the news.
News and notes from around the league.
You want to take this first one?
Oh, I'll jump in on this. There was the news that broke yesterday, and the Saints have released running back C.J. Spiller.
Does anybody care?
CJ Spiller.
Certainly C.J. Spiller cares. I care because he was giving me the heebie-jeebies a little bit on Mark Ingram with all that playing time he was getting the preseason. Of course, those heebie-jeebies have switched to Travaris Cadet, taking up some of my targets I was hoping for.
And a touchdown.
Mark Ingram. Yeah,
and
a touchdown.
Clearly, the story here was that Spiller's playing time in the preseason was not a product of getting out of the doghouse, but to be put on display for a potential trade, which did not happen.
And he's garnering no interest as of now.
He's a 29-year-old speedster that no longer offers upside.
What could have been?
A lot of people saying, what do I do with CJ? And you do what the Saints did.
Chris Ivory, released from the hospital. Remains uncertain for week number 2. Now, listen. This past week, Mike and I made a water bet, like men do.
Mm-hmm.
We bet, if you haven't done it.
Or women.
Sure. And we made a bet. And, if you don't have the Wheel of Water app, it's very fun. It's a free way to bet. We just made it for fun, literally, so that we can watch people humiliate each other. And that's wheelofwater.com. Now, Mike and I made a water bet that we made 2 of them. First, we made one that was Macklin versus Keenan Allen. And, out of the kindness of my heart and the sympathy I had for Keenan Allen.
And pure logic and reason.
Keenan went out with the ACL tear. I said, you know what? I won the bet, but I won it on the heels of a torn ACL.
Not like this.
Not like this. So I let him off the hook. Then I remembered we made a top 20 TJ Yeldon bet. And now Mike says he wants off the hook for that bet.
Well, this is what I'll say. I will take the water, but my entire argument was related to Chris Ivory, who was a shocking scratch because he was in the hospital.
Look, as I recall it, I don't think it was it was shocking that he was in the hospital. I will grant you that. We didn't see that he was going to come down with an illness and be missing for the game for that reason. But it was not. I mean, when the argument took place,
there were some questions about some soft tissue issues.
And whether Chris Ivory would be ready for that week. So I feel like it's fair, but I think we should put up a poll and
we'll
see
put up a poll.
See, and like
you decide whether it's #Mike wet, #Mike safe.
If it got to Sunday and it was Chris Ivory not playing hamstring problem, I would say, well, I feel like that's a little different than just a guy freakishly ending in the hospital and they have no idea what was wrong with him.
But
you were freakishly wrong.
Sure.
That's what I think, because he was freakishly in the top 13 this week and helped fantasy owners.
Yeah,
and that's what my
fair.
principle was. Hey, go start him, right? I realize they got a little bit of luck on the injury side of things.
You know who didn't help fantasy owners? Carrying on with the news, Jamaal Charles did not help fantasy owners this last week, and the reports coming out are that he might not help fantasy owners this following week. In fact,
I'm not counting on him.
I will assure you he will not help any fantasy owners.
I agree.
The question is, will he help the fantasy owners of the Ware owners? Will he be out of the game entirely? I expect that he will be.
Yeah, I completely agree. Don't love the matchup for Kansas City going up against the Houston defense this week, so I would not expect personally a 30-point game out of Spencer Ware again, but I don't think Charles is going to play. Just got news this morning, Rob Gronkowski has returned to practice.
Oh, that's good.
So you need to monitor that this week. Decent chance he plays. The Seahawks remain confident that Russell Wilson will be ready to go against the Rams. I need to know, guys, asking for a friend. What do you expect from Russell Wilson fantasy-wise this week? If he's limited in his mobility, does it matter going up against the Rams in L.A., Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, the weapons out of the backfield? What do you guys think about that situation?
I haven't statted him out yet, but in my head, just a snap judgment, I would have him likely outside of my top 12 if he cannot move.
Matt Ryan or Russell Wilson?
Ooh.
Matt Ryan has a good matchup this week.
It's on the road though for Matt Ryan as well. But the thing about Russell Wilson, he's playing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and why they could get away with that is because Russell Wilson has his backspin where he just gets out of trouble. If he's not going to be able to do that, then I expect a heavy dose of the Rolls Royce and the Awakening, both of them combined, and then it's just or. If somehow they get behind, Russell Wilson is going to get beat up. So I have concerns
I'm scared
right
of
now.
starting him when there are better options this week. I would
agree.
start him over Jameis Winston for sure. We made our little water bet yesterday, Jason. But I would not feel like I'm going to get this because the Rams, it's a divisional. They play Seattle tough so often.
Oh, yeah, they always play Seattle tough.
I just think the upside is limited when he doesn't get you those baseline of running points. And if those aren't going to be there, I mean, he might be fine. I want to see what practice looks like this week. When instincts take over in a game, he might still be able to get loose a little bit, but I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with him. Dan Quinn said the team's going to continue to use Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman. Look, we stand on a little bit of a different side here. I definitely think Tevin Coleman needs to be owned. I'm more confident in Freeman moving forward. I'm not freaking out, and I think Coleman's a great guy to sell. Jason, you have a different opinion. Mike, you have a different opinion.
I'm concerned.
Very fair.
With Freeman's usage because that's what Freeman was. Like we talked all offseason about Langford of very inefficient, but if he gets the volume, look, he's going to be great because that's what fantasy football is about. It's about getting touches. If Freeman is inefficient and doesn't get 80% of the snaps, there's going to be problems for fantasy.
What's the latest on Breshad Perriman, guys?
Oh, this is shocking news. Shocking news out of Baltimore. We don't know what the injury is, but he's not practicing Wednesday.
Come on, Perriman.
I think what happened was he said, "I did it. I played in an NFL game," and now he's going to retire.
And he had a monster catch.
I mean, it's sad. We poke fun, but we hope that Breshad Perriman gets healthy. I think that's, if he's out there, look, there are all of a sudden a ton of weapons for Joe Flacco. We were talking before this show. Joe Flacco's schedule coming up is very juicy. He's got a great offensive coordinator for fantasy points. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, Steve Smith is going to get healthier and healthier. Mike Wallace looked like he was a little bit younger. You still have Kamar Aiken there, even though he didn't do much. Breshad Perriman. You had no hip quitta. Dennis Pitta
was out there.
Yes. So you've got weapons. I think that, nobody's playing Breshad Perriman right now. This is more of a dynasty thing. You just wait and hold. But it's sad to me to see that he's still struggling with injury.
All right, we're going to jump into Keep Trade Cut. I wanted to let you guys know I just picked up Will Fuller in our League of Record.
Oh, what did you pay for him?
I paid $11 out of a $100 budget.
Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting.
And I did that for a specific reason. So I don't know if it's worth sharing or not. I have C.J. Anderson in our League of Record. And I paid for Fuller so that I could accept this trade offer that I just did.
Oh, you jerk.
To
What's
acquire
happening?
DeVante Booker. And so I paid a high price. I traded Tajae Sharpe straight up for DeVante Booker.
That is a high price.
Because I signed Will Fuller.
Yeah, that's a great deal.
It's smart. I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, if C.J. Anderson looks to be a top 5 back, barring one thing, and that's injury.
Yeah.
And if injury happens, then Booker should be a top 12 back.
Mike spent $11 on Mr. Jameis Winston.
I did. I paid up for Jameis. I regretted I regretted him because of the Keenan Allen injury. Jameis would have been my target if I didn't grab Phillip Rivers. And I'm trying not to get ahead of myself, but I took a little gander at weeks 14 through 16.
Sure.
And
A little ahead.
Just a little bit.
Sure, playoffs, but I assume that my team is going to make the playoffs, and Jameis Winston will take on the Saints twice in that time period.
It's not a bad look. I'll be curious to see if you can hold on to him for that long.
Oh, I can hold on.
Next highest bid on Winston was $4. Next highest on Fuller was $5. So both of us overpaid just a little bit.
That's fine.
But all right, let's go ahead and get into. Look, we're doing it again. You loved it. I'm excited. We're going to be able to get through a ton of names because of this format, which is what makes me most excited. Let's do it.
Keep Trade Cut.
Is your grimace because I got DeVante Booker?
No, my grimace is because I missed out on the Ravens. I bid the
Oh.
same as someone else, but I was lower in the waiver, which makes sense. I was the high scorer this week.
I was the low scorer this week. I'm embarrassed to be alive.
I wanted the Ravens this week against the Browns. I missed out.
Yeah,
well, I'm
good.
counting on a bounce back week facing Jason this week, and I know you owners out there that have had a tough week one, you can bounce back with me. So keep trade cut. I'm gonna give a name. We're gonna say whether you want to just hold this guy, whether you want to trade him at his current value, what you believe about him, or whether he's a cut candidate. Because there are guys out there. People ask about Gary Barnidge. People ask about a number of different players. Torrey Smith, Kamar Aiken. Look, let's just lay of the land. Keep trade cut. Brandon Marshall.
I'm going to give you two answers for Brandon Marshall. I'm going to keep him, and I'm going to trade for him because look, week one it didn't end up well for Brandon Marshall. But if you actually watch the game, there were two for sure. I'm remembering three back-to-back plays of Ryan Fitzpatrick trying to feed him in the end zone, and that's going to happen all year long. They don't have that grinder who can really, once they get inside the 5, I don't know if they can pound it in with consistency. So I expect Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker to get a bunch of touchdowns, and I think he's going to be perfectly fine.
Yesterday, I regretted not answering the quick question, or it might have been the day before. I forget.
Of who to go after?
Who to go after. I said Allen Robinson, which I like that, but Brandon Marshall's you have to go make a trade offer. In all three of our main leagues, I went and made a trade offer, a strong offer for Brandon Marshall. I didn't get him in our league of record, and the reason why is because you, Andy, traded for Brandon Marshall. So he is a perfect candidate. I completely agree with Mike. Not only are you do not trade him, but trade for him.
Do you consider Ryan Fitzpatrick a possible stream this week?
He's
against Buffalo.
He's always a possible stream because he just ends up with 202
and get some yards on the ground.
All right, Melvin Gordon, keep trade cut. I've got my answer.
I've got mine as well.
I've got mine.
Trade him.
100%.
Trade him. 2 touchdown week from Gordon. Lower snap count than Woodhead by a wide margin. Look, this is not a personal thing about Melvin Gordon. I've championed Melvin Gordon.
All off
I
season.
think the person that you trade him to will get some production from Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, we're not saying he's going to be a bust.
Right.
We're saying that his value is very high right now, and
you can't predict touchdowns. Touchdowns are very difficult. So if you can cash in on a guy in week one who has a starting job, who just put up 2 touchdowns, to me, that is a trade candidate.
Absolutely. And you look forward, the Keenan Allen injury is not going to help Melvin Gordon. It's going to slow down the entire San Diego Chargers offense, and when you need those short passes, they're going to go to Danny Woodhead.
Well, what was so weird about that game, the Chargers were in charge, so to speak.
Yeah, they were up.
They went very Charles in that situation. And so the game script for Melvin Gordon. Danny Woodhead, 68.5% of the snaps. I mean, once Allen went down, they said, okay, Danny Woodhead, mighty man, take us there. And so I don't know why that happened. I was thinking back of maybe it's the microfracture surgery that he's coming up. Everyone's kind of forgotten about that since Melvin Gordon looks healthy. But
Sure.
Perhaps they're going to ease him in over the course of the season.
Yeah.
But it was very bizarre, the snap counts.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. He's going to be good this year. I don't dislike Melvin Gordon, but it's a good time to get value for him right now. Hey, before we continue on and keep trade cut, we need to thank our sponsor today,
Yes.
Football Hall.
Love them.
I mean, we have so many people that listened to this offseason who had, found out about Football Hall through us and love it. It's a monthly subscription box, and the value is absurd. If you like football and you want to collect football things, you can't find a better value. Every month, it's $75 or more in value in that box for $29. They even have a Football Hall Junior.
Subscription boxes are the best.
They're great.
They're so
because
much fun.
It's like Christmas every single month. You get to open a box, and it's exciting for
What's
us.
in the box?
For our
My
family.
kids open with me.
Exactly. The kids, they love getting it out. You'll get apparel. You'll get memorabilia. We've got all these McFarlanes, if you watch on Fantasy Sports Network or on YouTube, all these cool things around the studio. Half of these, what you're seeing here, comes from our Football Hall boxes, collectibles, puzzles, games, gear, all sorts of stuff, and stuff exclusive for your favorite team. So it's a really good thing. We highly recommend it. It's Football Hall, HAUL.com, and they've given a Ballers5 code so you can save $5 off your first order. It is very worth it. People send us tweets all the time. And here's the deal. You've only got to the 20th to make sure you get this month's haul. So sign up at footballhall.haul.com and enjoy it.
Also want to thank today's sponsor, good friends of the show, the Draft app. Woo! Playdraft.com/ballers is where you want to head on the web if you want to find that app, get connected directly to our leagues. You can also put the promo code BALLERS into the app. Mike opened the show by telling you a little bit about it, but we are repeating the refrain. It is so much fun. It is a really, really engaging app, and we know, because this is a fantasy show, how much you love playing fantasy. But Draft is a simple daily fantasy app that lets you do those snake drafts all season long. And I want to tell everybody, focus on the leagues, man. You can start leagues with friends. You can play with them every single week. You can put $1 in, $5. It is an engaging, fun, well-made app from some really good people. And that's why we have gotten on board this season. And that's why we are playing with you on the Draft app. So head over, like I said, playdraft.com/ballers.
I have really bad news.
Yeah, we'll get to it. And then put in the promo code BALLERS. Check out the Draft app today. All right, Jason's face is weird.
Well, we made a water bet. We did a draft, the three of us, on Draft.
I was hoping this would come up.
Mike won.
Oh, I got second, huh?
Yeah.
Winner
So,
take all.
It should be winner take all, but the second place guy should get 1 water. The third place should get 2.
No. You got second by like 0.8 points.
So I was that close to Mike?
No. I'm sorry. You second over third. No, Mike crushed us. Mike had 20 more points than us. So we will get watered.
Well, to further inflate Mike's ego, I just got a notice on my computer that somebody purchased a FF Hitman t-shirt.
Yes!
What's going wrong
Everything's
in the world?
turning up, Mike.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen that on the Ballers shop. So a listener sent in this like B-Nana shirt with Mike's face right in the middle of
My
it.
wife hates this, by the way.
Oh,
Because it was her word, the bananas. And then I brought it to the show.
and Mike took credit. Well, the listener put Mike's face on it. It's got these bananas, some bananas around him. And Mike, I think, bought one for his own wife to wear.
I certainly did.
What did she think when you
Do
gave her that?
people know about Shop Ballers?
No.
You can go to Shop Ballers and get all these shirts you see on the show.
Yeah, that's true. We don't make a big deal out of it.
ShopBallers.com.
I make a big deal of people putting Mike's face on their body. That's a shame.
That's
do
beautiful.
It. Don't
That's
do
frightening.
it. Buy any shirts but those. Do not buy those.
Keep trade cut, Ajayi.
Cut.
I am completely with you. I'm a cut. I know, Andy, you might be a.
I'm only a keep if you own Arian Foster.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm a straight up cut.
I'm a straight up cut. I would not even have him if I had. I mean, if there weren't good options on the waiver, sure. If I've got Arian Foster, I'm fine having Ajayi. But if Will Fuller's out there and my wide receivers are a little slim or something like that, I would rather have that. I would rather have Devonta Booker on my team if I was the Arian Foster owner. So
I'd rather
for me,
have Tevin Coleman.
Ajayi is a straight cut.
Keep, trade, cut DeVante Parker from the same team.
Keep.
I'm going to keep him.
You can't trade him.
You can't trade him. You can't cut him. He still has
too much upside.
He just didn't play week 1, so it's like you're down on him, but he hasn't shown you that he can't do anything yet.
Keep, trade, cut Kevin White.
Oh, you know what? I'm turning on Kevin White.
Turning on him like you're becoming an enemy of him?
I have gone. I don't
like
think
you guys you walked together, but now you've let go of his hand?
Early off season, I was like, I want Kevin White on my teams. As preseason games came, I was like, man, he has shown me nothing. I know he was raw. He looks like he's not going to get it done, so I don't like it. I'm coming around.
The full 360?
The full 360 has happened for me. I'm not trading for him.
Wait, now you're back around to good.
I am back to good. I'm definitely holding on to him. I'm keeping him.
So that's a keep.
He actually got one more target and played in more snaps than Alshon Jeffrey, which is just bizarre. He is involved in the game, and you're going to come up against games where you've got that lockdown corner that's going to try to go on Alshon Jeffrey, and Kevin White could explode. So for me, I am very much holding on to him or picking him up off of waivers.
You guys should throw a few names out there too.
All right.
Keep, trade, cut Torrey Smith.
Cut him.
I would not cut him personally because I would never have rostered Torrey Smith.
Oh yeah, you said that yesterday. So if for some situation you had to accept him in a trade offer, you'd immediately cut him.
Yes, yeah, exactly. If it's like he's coming along, I would ask that person not include him in the trade. I would say no, I won't take this trade unless you take Torrey Smith.
The guys that you traded for, they get on the bus, they're driving to your team. You ask the bus driver to pull over.
Please
let
stop
Torrey
halfway
Smith
through.
out.
Let him out at the lake.
You're cutting him too, Mike, right?
I am.
Kamar Aiken, keep, trade, cut.
I think you got to keep him.
Yeah. Oof.
I would actually. Okay, so Kamar Aiken versus Will Fuller or Tajae Sharpe.
I would rather have the two guys you mentioned.
Kevin White or Tyler Boyd or Aiken.
You know, it sounded like Kamar Aiken's becoming a cut.
That's what it sounds like.
Because a lot of those guys are available on waivers.
How does that make you feel, Mike? I mean,
pretty bad.
If these guys are cut, can they come over and watch the games with you, like Aiken and Smith?
Yeah, if they're not up to much, we could grab a froyo and hang out.
All right.
How about this name? Jonathan Stewart.
I'm keeping Stewart.
I'm keeping. He's a straight up hold. Yeah, he's a keep.
He looked great.
Bad matchup, played good.
I get a lot of tweets this last week that were like, "Do I drop Jonathan Stewart for so and so?" And it's no.
Wow. Okay.
No way. What are you doing? Here's a hard one. Samuel Watkins.
Keep, trade, cut Samuel Watkins.
Keep, trade, cut Samuel Watkins.
He has to be a keep. I think you're stuck. You're not dropping Sammy Watkins.
No, certainly don't.
But you need to. Here's what you do as a Sammy Watkins owner. He's a keep, and you are making plans in waiver wire to have more depth at the wide receiver position that you can play in lieu of him. As these, I mean, you're gonna have to do the dance with Sammy Watkins. The dance is not a good dance because he's limping during it.
It's a dance of danger.
Here's what I would try to do personally. If I'm a Sammy Watkins owner, not in Dynasty, because I still love him in Dynasty. In a redraft this year, I would try to pair him with another somewhat solid wide receiver and go trade for a Sammy Watkins tier wide receiver if you can. And a lot of people are afraid.
Maybe overpay to get rid of the anxiety.
Exactly. Because you need those stud wide receivers.
It's Sammy Watkins, and would you throw in, like, let's say you've got Tajae Sharpe at an okay week. Sammy Watkins, Tajae Sharpe for Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah, I think I would. Demaryius Thomas, man, I'm not
ankle?
loving. He's got his own issues with the ankle and the hip. It was a hip with him.
But you'd be trying to offload Watkins on the promise that he's still okay.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you've got a team, maybe you can even upgrade the position, right? Like, let's say you have Willie Snead, who blew up, and Sammy Watkins, who's got a great name. If you could pair those guys together and woo someone for an A.J. Green or an Allen Robinson or something like that to where that starting position is solidified, and you don't have the worry of Sammy Watkins, so I would recommend trading, but it's going to be very difficult because the news on Sammy is awful.
Keep, trade, cut Willie Snead.
Ooh.
Man.
Like I said at the top, I'm probably keeping him, but I will say this. I've seen some trade offers floated around on Twitter where people are just taking the house for Willie Snead.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's why I brought it up.
If someone's going to pay the house for Willie Snead, then let's do it.
Truth is,
I'd trade him.
I have Sammy Watkins or Willie Snead on a lot of my rosters, and in most of those, I have offered him as bait because he's great. And in that, I
he's
believe,
great. Oh, he's a good player.
He's
a good player.
Snead. I also believe in Larry Fitzgerald. But I have been floating those guys out in every league I got him because people see those big weeks and they think, oh, man, he's going to be this good. You got to get value for that.
All right, last one before the mailbag. Keep, trade, cut Gary Barnidge.
Keep. You got Josh McCown coming in replacement of RG3. You saw when McCown was out there, Barnidge was like a top 3, top 4.
Dominant.
He was great.
Consistent.
I will say this. I think you're going to have to keep him one more week. He could have a good week this week against the Ravens, but the Ravens have a real sneaky good D against the tight ends. At least they did last year so far. So I think that you hold on to Barnidge this week and beyond.
I lied. One more. Keep, trade, cut Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon.
Ooh, man.
I've thought
I'm gonna
about buying Josh Gordon.
I've thought about buying him as well as soon as I heard Josh McCown was the quarterback.
What was that meme you saw of RG3? It was not very
it
wasn't very kind.
It was for Cleveland, it was the Robert Griffin era, September 11th, 2016 to September 12th, 2016.
I don't think he plays another snap with that
the
team.
end of an era.
I really don't. I don't think he ever plays another snap with the Browns.
Oh.
Do you think he plays another snap in the NFL in live action?
Yeah, as a backup.
starter?
As a backup. No, not as a starter. All right, it's time. Let's jump into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels so good getting back into the mailbag.
Yes.
If you have a question for the show, you can submit them on the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. Click on the Submit a Question button in the upper right-hand corner. Submit them to the show. You can also dial us on our voicemail hotline, 302-464-TFFB. We will be answering both written and audio questions today on the show. Let's start right here. A trade question from Chris in New York City.
New York City.
Should I trade Antonio Brown and Jeremy Hill for Adrian Peterson and Doug Baldwin?
Nope. No, I can understand you're upgrading from Hill to Peterson, and you think that Baldwin's going to be solid. I'm not trading Antonio Brown. It's just not going to happen.
Someone asked me a question that it was absolutely crazy that it was even a question. I'm trying to remember who the other guy was, but it was Antonio Brown it was Julio Jones and someone else.
So Julio plus?
Yeah, it was Julio plus, I think, like a Dez Bryant. And I said
that's what it's going to take for me to trade Antonio Brown.
But what was crazy is that it was a question.
You thought about
that I thought about, well, would I? And that's lunacy that we've gotten to the point where it even has to enter my mind of like, wow.
You saw the booch scooch.
You guys are going to enjoy this next voicemail question very much.
Hey, ballers, this is Jared in Omaha. I've got a question. I just beat Andy in the Listeners League. And I didn't have a question. I just wanted to say that. But I do have a question. In a few of my other leagues, I've got a couple shares of – I've got Tyrod Taylor in 2 leagues. I've got Barnidge in 2 leagues. I've got Fleener in 2 leagues. And all of them had abysmal weeks this week. Should I hit the panic button? Should I pull the eject lever? Should I bail and just stream QB and tight end? If the answer is yes, who would be some of your targets for those 2 positions? Or if your answer is no, sit tight and don't panic after week 1, then I would love to hear that as well. Thank you very much, guys. Keep up the good work.
You keep up the good work.
He got you good.
He got me good.
If we had our listener of the week drop from our Patreon, join the foot.
Sure.
Our what do we call that? The Footcast now.
Yeah, we do.
Barnidge and Fleener, you're going to
also-
keep them. I'm bailing on Tyrod Taylor for now.
I'm not giving this guy any advice.
I will give it.
He doesn't need it from you.
I'm bailing on Tyrod. I'm fine with Barnidge and Fleener. You cannot, of all the positions in, not to overreact to too much in week 1 on either side of the equation. It's the tight end position, unless you want to start Jim Doyle for the rest of your season.
And I threw out Flacco yesterday as my stream of the week, assuming that Dalton wasn't available in your league. And I was actually short-sighted yesterday. Jason mentioned it earlier, but here's Joe Flacco's upcoming schedule: Cleveland, Jacksonville, Oakland, and Washington. I mean, those are 4 straight weeks where Joe Flacco might be your streamer of the week.
In my weekly, daily Jacksonville defense, I'm predicting Jacksonville to have a good week on defense this week. I thought they held up against Green Bay last week, so just temper your, every single time you play Jacksonville, it's going to be an explosion expectations. I'm saying that right now.
Sure.
Well, and their matchup this week is San Diego, who lost Keenan Allen, so they're going to be figuring things out. It's not a bad thought this week
For Jacksonville?
Yeah, I'm just saying I think Jacksonville's defense is going to be okay. That's all I'm saying.
Fair.
Trade away Gurley. That is the question from Ed in Glendora, California. He said, thoughts on trading Gurley and Forsett for Gronk and Ware? I have Charles and he has West on Baltimore.
Interesting.
If you have Charles.
Current tight end is Gates.
Man.
If you have Charles, I think I'm willing to do that deal. Personally, it seems rather sideways. You're replacing, one star for another. I don't want to sell Gurley low, but if you're
do I want to buy Ware on the tippy top.
No, but you're getting Gronk. I feel like if the question was just would you trade Gurley for Gronk straight across?
No, I would say no, especially if I have Gates as my tight end.
Sure, if you've got Gates as your tight end, you don't necessarily need him. A lot of people down on Gates, getting a lot of Gates tight end questions, and the answer is always, in every question I've ever seen, should I drop Gates for this guy or that guy? The question's always answered with Gates.
Right.
Just hold him.
Just hold him.
But in this, I mean, you're getting that backup. I would say if you have another solid running back, if you happen to have a Latavius Murray on your roster or someone of that caliber.
CJ.
Well, yeah, CJ Anderson or anybody else.
You could have him because of where his draft position was.
If you've got another guy like that, then I take this deal. If not, then I wouldn't, because essentially while you are getting another back, it's only one RB slot because Jamaal Charles and Ware are going to just take that slot.
All right, Dylan in Kansas City, Missouri. Hey, footballers, love the show, and your advice will take me to the top. I have Ingram, Langford, Riddick, and Ryan Matthews. Half point per reception league. Who would you start in week number 2? Also, who would you look to use in trade situations? Thanks for the advice. I will say this as a preface to the answer. Today's the day, Wednesday, when we finalize all of our week 2 projections by the end of the day. So you can check those out on the website on the rankings tab. Those will all be up by the end of the day. We have not completed them all. We have that fine balance of waiting as long as we can to get all the information, practice reports, matchups, who's going to be there on defense, offense, all of those things. We build them out on Wednesday. You can find them from Wednesday through the rest of the week on the website, normally later in the day on Wednesday. I have done some of my running backs, and I will say this. I think Ryan Matthews is getting too little love. That's not a normal statement there. He's not getting enough love from the ESPN projections.
What?
He had 22 carries last week. I think this week I have him projected much higher than ESPN or the other websites do, and I would not be trying to unload Ryan Matthews this week. Let me put it that way. And Mike is aghast because
I cannot believe it.
So if you're asking me about this week's matchups, I mean, I don't know how you sit Langford.
Yeah,
I'm not sitting Ryan Matthews. The volume would tell me – now, it's a half point per reception league. The volume tells me Riddick would be the sit here. So,
wait,
as much as I
only
like
sit
Riddick,
one?
Would you – so let's say you only had –
who would you start? So I'm ranking them. So I would rank them Ingram, Matthews, Langford, Riddick.
And I get that. For me, I'm putting Langford ahead of Matthews. So I would go Ingram, Langford, Matthews, Riddick. And what's interesting is this is the same game. On Monday Night Football, Philadelphia is playing Chicago. So you got Ryan Matthews against Jeremy Langford. I'm going to go with the team that is home and that is favored to win because the running back usually scores a lot more fantasy points in victories than in losses. And when you look at these two guys, they're pretty even, in a vacuum.
So that's you predicting Philly to lose.
That's right. I think I have this theory. We've talked about it in years past. Week 2 of new quarterbacks is always really, really difficult. They come out week 1, whether it's in the middle of the year, their first start for a rookie. Nobody has true game footage on him. Coming to that second week, people can really game plan. Plus, he loses Ertz going on the road to Chicago. I think Chicago wins this game, so I'm going to go Langford. And Ingram is a must-start in a game that Vegas has as the highest-scoring game of the week.
All right, let's jump into another voicemail question from the Foot Clan.
Hey, ballers. This is Billy from New Jersey. Trick trade question. Should I trade D'Angelo Williams and Marvin Jones for Latavius Murray? I'm really low at running back right now. My RB1 is Thomas Rawls, sadly. So, yeah, thanks, guys.
I know why I picked this question now, and it was because of the passing comment on Thomas Rawls. I told Jason in the studio yesterday I'm building out my ranks. Jason, I think, agreed with me but said it might take another week.
Yeah, I'm 1 week away from where
I
you're at.
believe you're going to see a breakout for Thomas Rawls this week. Based on what I saw on film, what Pete Carroll has said about the usage level of Thomas Rawls, I think this is the week.
Against the Rams?
Correct.
Well, Carlos Hyde just was fine against the Rams. Mr. Taste My Hide.
Yeah,
well,
Mr.
because he had
Taste My
2 touchdowns.
Look, I'm coming at.
And wasn't injured.
They're going to depend on neither is Rawls.
Well, coming back from injury.
He's not injured. He's fine. You saw it on the film. He was a horse. He was moving the pile. To me, this is the week where you can buy Rawls on the cheap because somebody like this is saying, so the answer is, would I do this trade if I had Thomas Rawls? I might want Murray in the long term. If I can afford to lose Marvin Jones, I'm fine with the trade.
Yeah,
but don't discount Rawls as a long-term answer at running back because I think he will be at least by week 3, maybe not week 2.
Yeah, I agree with your notion. As far as the trade goes, if you've got other wide receiver depth, which usually you do because Marvin Jones was very affordable in your draft, you probably have another Michael Crabtree or a Willie Snead or someone like that was kind of fighting for that flex role with Marvin Jones. If you're doing that, then I like turning a short stint player in D'Angelo Williams into a long-term option in Latavius Murray. I would take that deal. Also, on the Rawls Michael debate, think about this. The offensive line is so terrible for Seattle. You have an immobile, possibly immobile, starting quarterback for the first time in Russell Wilson.
He's never missed a game, by the way. Did
Right.
you know that? Russell's never missed a game?
I believe he's never missed a snap of practice, honestly. That's true. I heard that from Paulson.
Or an episode of Family Guy.
No,
never
he has not
missed an
one.
episode.
Even repeats. He records
he watched
them
all.
But the point I'm making is, do you trust Kristen Michael in pass protection for your star quarterback in that situation against a good pass rush?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you trust Thomas Rawls. I think it's his job. I think Michael will obviously see the field.
Yeah, they'll still split this week.
I'm not making Michael my start of the week, and I might make Rawls my start of the week. We'll see.
Whoa.
That would be ballsy.
I dare you.
You did.
I dare you to do that.
Well, you know.
We'll see.
I know that if I do and we water bet it, you won't take the water. So, we're fine. Who should I start as my flex, says Nadim in Atlanta. My options are Michael Floyd. Wasn't sure for a split second.
You thought still
remembering Malcolm when I see that. My options are Michael Floyd, Allen Hurns, Amir Abdullah. 12-point PPR.
Oh, my.
All right.
12-point PPR. Sorry, 12-person league.
12
point per
PPR.
reception. No, that's a tough one.
It is.
I would go with Amir Abdullah.
Really?
I think so.
Amir Abdullah?
Against the Titans?
Well, yeah, I don't think the Titans are...
The Titans that just shut down Adrian Peterson?
No, they just shut down the Minnesota Vikings, who didn't have a quarterback the same exact way that St. Louis got shut down when they didn't have... It's like, hey, we're going to put all of our team against the run. Now you're actually playing a team as opposed to a running game.
Well, I think that the Titans' defense has impressed me. There was I can't remember which game it was in preseason, but that combined with week 1, I think that might be okay.
That being said, I'm going Michael Floyd here.
I'd go Michael Floyd at home.
There you
as
go.
Well.
By the way, the snap counts for the Cardinals in week 1, Michael Floyd was at, I believe, 95%. Fitz was 97. John Brown was down at the 59%.
And
John Brown did not impress me in that game.
That
was the other piece.
I loved that snap count notion because you have a guy coming off of, it's rare, or I guess it's not rare, but it's scary, I should say, when a guy gets a concussion and is out for weeks, comes back and is still having headache problems, and the fact that his snap counts are low and that he's not being involved right now he wasn't returning punts or returning kicks or anything like that says to me they're wanting to make sure he's healthy. And so some of what you saw, because I don't think John Brown is going to stay at that percentage of snap counts for 3 wide sets.
John Brown, Tajae Sharpe.
Oh, John Brown. If I could trade Tajae Sharpe for John Brown right now, which I probably could, I would absolutely do that because the upside of both of those guys, I think, is very different. Also, huge shout out. We have an incredible article
really
that hit
good
the
article.
website today. Marcus Meany wrote a snap count observations article, and it is
super valuable.
Really valuable. You got to go check it out. Just go to the Fantasy Footballer, scroll down to articles or click articles. I believe it. If you're listening today, it'll be the top one on there, or scroll for it. But that is a great article, and that's where you can find some of these great nuggets.
Completely agree. We're going to close it out with a great question here from Taylor in Baltimore. Curious what you guys would count as a more successful week. Number 1, the Cardinals win, but all of your fantasy teams lose. Or number 2, the Cardinals lose, but all of your fantasy teams win.
Oh, what week is it?
What week is it? I think look, it's been a couple years on the air with the show, delivering this every single day. Oh gosh, I don't know the answer. I thought that was leading to the answer. I was going to say I have enough integrity to say it's all about the fantasy teams.
I'm going to throw in a third option.
Yeah.
Let's say the Cardinals lose, your fantasy teams lose, but all the starts, all the guys that you have been talking up have monster weeks.
Totally, that's the one.
That would be the answer for sure.
Here's the thing. Hopefully they're not only these options.
Mutually exclusive.
Hopefully the Cardinals win and my teams win and my picks are correct. But let me say this. This past week, I had a rough week in fantasy, and then the Cardinals lose on that last kick, a game they should have won at home. And my solace, albeit, difficult in the emotions of the Cardinals' loss, my solace was found in the fact that the majority of our starts of the week, the majority of what we said about players, was accurate last week. We would much rather be accurate than having to come on the air and be like, "Oh, guys, we missed everything, but the Cardinals won." I mean, that's not a very good show.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
That being said, to answer this question, I'm going to say I want the Cardinals to win this week. We can't go 0-2.
I'm
1-0 in all of my leagues, so I'll take the loss. And it's good because here's the thing: you don't go on tilt when you lose in a fantasy league. You'll be fine. I'll still make the playoffs.
All right, that's it for today's show. Come back for the matchups tomorrow, and we've got our starts of the week tomorrow.
Check
it's going to be great.
FantasyJocks.com for all your trophy needs with the code FOOTBALLERS.
All right, bye everybody.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.